Welcome everyone. This is our IT investment kickoff for the 2019-20 budget. I'm Jonathan Swift. I'm the PSB's Deputy Director for Budget and Business Planning. So welcome you all. Thank you for coming here today. We have a full house. We've got lots of materials to cover, so we're going to jump right in. So what we really want you to walk away with today are really just three things. So it's really about what the process is, how proposals will be evaluated, and where to get help. Those are the three things we want you to walk away with. So we're going to spend most of the time on that. We are going to open with our decision makers, our customers, talking about what they want, what they expect. And it's going to be a little bit of a surprise to you, but until we did this improvement process, we had never asked our customers what they wanted or what they expected. So we thought we should actually start with that as kind of a flip. Start with what the customers want. Crazy, right, Dwight?
Shocking.
Yeah. So we're really excited to roll out this I think, a very well thought through process. And 2 years ago when we were getting feedback on our budget process, I think this was the most maligned and misunderstood process that we had. So we said, hey, let's fix that one. And so that's exactly what we think that we've done. So we've spent the past year or so working with our partners in the agencies and with council staff, really just breaking this process down, trying to get to the core of what's important. And so we really focus on the customers, but we also focus on how efficiently can we do this? Is there anything extra that we're doing within this process? Can we get it so there are fewer people touching a process and not adding value? So it has this very core sort of work around lean and process improvement. So looking at the process from the ground up, there was a huge focus on efficiency, but try not to sacrifice quality. And so some of the process doesn't go away, so I'm going to apologize to you in advance, and the process is not perfect in the way that we have designed it, but we actually have thought about design at this point in time. So this is not the end of improvement for us. We are going to pause on improvement, and we're going to go through this process, we're going to measure, we're going to monitor, and we're going to learn and adjust. And so the process will get better and better as we go through it further and further. So that's really the intent and the focus. Again, three things that you'll walk away with. What is this process? What are some of the details of the information, and where can you go to get help? So I'm going to turn this over to our three panel members. And these are the customers and decision makers within the process. I'm going to turn it over to Dwight Dively, our budget director first. Tanya is going to actually take it over second, I believe. And then, are you actually going to? Oh, and you're going to come third. We have only one microphone, so we're going to hand it off, and it's very tiny. So we're going to do it in that order. So Dwight, without any further ado.
So I was going to briefly talk about why we have this process. So this process really started with the county council and the need for them to have a more systemic way to review technology proposals that came through the budget process. And it has evolved over the last few years as we've worked between the executive and the council about ways to make this process work better. What we've come up with now, I think, is a very systematic way that first on the executive side and then subsequently on the council side, we get the opportunity to review all the major IT project proposals that are coming from our agencies in a way that is consistent and a way that has clear standards. And we can't always choose among them because many, as you all know, there are different funding measures available for different parts of the government. So we may have a high priority on a particular project, but can't afford it in that particular fund. So it isn't, in that sense, a perfect process. But it does give us a way to systematically review proposals and then make decisions in a clear and cohesive way. As you're going to see when we get into the details of this, there are multiple steps in the process. I just would note a couple of them. There is a conceptual review phase that comes up first. And in that phase, we're really focused on business value. So do we think that the project proposal, which is going to be fairly preliminary at that point, has sufficient business value to proceed? If we think it does, then you'll move on to the full proposal development when we will also then bring in additional criteria, things like risk and whether it complies with standards and what the costs are, what the returns are, and we'll then start to use those to make final decisions about what we put in the executive proposed budget, or if we're off cycle, what we might put in an omnibus supplemental appropriation. Then, of course, all of those proposals will go to the council, and they'll know that this work has been done, and the documentation of it is all available so that when they do their work, they can use the same materials and know that that review has happened. I want to really thank everybody who's been involved in this work on developing the new process. I know it took a long time and it was a lot of work, but I think you'll see that this process is clearer and simpler than the one we had before, which is always a good improvement. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tanya Hannah, our Interim KCIT Director, and she's going to talk about it from the KCIT perspective.
Thank you, Dwight. So the first part that I'd like to discuss is the conceptual review. Your package is due by March 9th. So what will Dwight and I be looking for in terms of what the agencies put forward? One is, what is the alignment of the department or the agency's short and long-term goals, strategic goals with this proposal? Does it help your business move forward in terms of providing benefits to the county? Is it in alignment with the effects on your customers, whether it is the feet on the street, whether it is internal and you're looking for operational efficiencies? What is the impact of this proposal that you would like to put forward? What are the impacts on the finances of the department and the county in general? Also, we'll be looking at the return on investment in terms of the benefits, the costs, and the risk. And then finally from that, we'll also be looking at the portfolio optimization. Currently within the county, we have roughly 1,000 applications across the county. As you're determining what investments you'd like to propose, is it helping in your bread and butter part of your business in terms of if you need a case management system, is this a replacement or an improvement over currently what you have? Or is this something totally new that really you may need because of regulatory requirements, something came about in the legislative process? But what is the overall impact of this proposal? From there, you will have available to you staff from KCIT. It is part of the process called small teams. They will be available to help you determine what your proposal is. It does not have to be a full-blown plan, but it needs to at least understand what are your requirements, the business requirements, who are the customers impacted, what is the scope of this work. Those would probably be some of the major high-level items that you would need to touch. Once it comes time, for the full proposal, then we would be looking at the BAP and some of the other documentation that Gohar and Kate and Helene are going to cover a little bit later. But the goal is to really understand what are the business requirements for this proposal moving forward. Dwight, did you want to add anything before? All right, so Terra will talk about what council is looking for.
Hi, everyone. I'm Terra Rose. I'm a Legislative Analyst to Council and newly lead staff for technology. Gohar asked me to say a few words about what Council looks for, and I'm going to focus my remarks on the Benefit Achievement Plans, or the BAPs, covering specifically why they're important to Council and what Council staff look for in review. And if I have time, I'll offer just a quick, brief suggestion on what makes for a good BAP. So first, why are the BAPs important to council? As you all know, the county makes a significant investment in technology, and the council has many competing priorities for funding. And so the intent of the BAP is really to shift away from whether the technology functions and what features it has, and instead what value it delivers to the county and what it can do for our particular agency. So at the time of the appropriation request, the BAP is a tool for council to understand that value. So will it improve operations, will improve services to the public, save the county money, or preserve a program that would otherwise be at risk due to failing technology, or multiple of those. And additionally, after the appropriation request is made, the council wants to know what happened with the investment. And so previously, the council reviewed all BAPs on an annual basis. However, in 2017, that was changed to a biennial reporting cycle in the odd years. And so during that regular review process, that gives the council an opportunity to know if the ongoing projects are on track to receive their benefits, and if not, why, and then whether completed projects achieve the benefits that they described when they first sought the appropriation. So what are some things that the council staff looks for in BAPs when they complete their review? At various points, we'll look for different things, and that will change depending on where a project is in its implementation. So at the point of the appropriation request, analysts are looking for, is it complete? Does it make sense? In other words, are the benefits that this technology investment is, are they clearly described? Is the BAP focused on outcomes? And are there corresponding targets that seem realistic? Targets are particularly helpful because they provide sort of an understanding of the magnitude of the investment. In the now biennial report, analysts will look for different things. As I mentioned, for completed projects, we're evaluating whether technology investments achieve the benefits that they set out to, and if not, why. And there often can be reasons, and that's something that the council is very interested in. For new and ongoing projects in the regular reporting cycle, we're evaluating has there been any significant changes? Have there been any revisions to the expected benefits, and if yes, why? And that again can be for a lot of reasons. Maybe initial assumptions weren't borne out, or there are issues with the vendor, and those are some things that the council can learn during the ongoing reporting process. And I'll close by briefly discussing just some suggestions on what makes for a good BAP, at least in the eyes of this particular analyst. So the first and foremost is to write it for a lay person, and try to, as much as possible, avoid technical jargon. And I know that can be really challenging, but it should be really understandable to someone who doesn't necessarily know about the technology or about your particular business. And the reason for this is super important because council analysts use this tool to convey what the project does and what its value is. And so if analysts can't understand what the purpose of the project is, council members are also going to have a hard time understanding. The second, I would just keep the discussion focused on the benefits of the project to the business and not the features of the technology. And part of the reason for this is that you can have a piece of software and it works entirely as expected, but if nobody at the county is using it, then it's not really providing the value. And then third, be specific and concise, but don't feel pressure to exaggerate the benefits. There can be a tendency to kind of amplify that it's going to solve world peace, world hunger, and all of that sort of thing. But really, it's so much better if it's crisp and clear and tied to very specific measurable things. And don't feel the need you have to include measures and benefits for each of the 4 categories as well. So in sum, write for a layperson audience, focus the discussion on how the investment will impact the business and not on the specific features, and avoid exaggerating about the benefits that can be expected.
So we're going to take, I think Dwight needs to take off in about 10 minutes, but we have a few minutes available. We're going to take some questions. I do want to pause for a second. The rest of the agenda is going to be on details of the process, details of the forms, details of the changes. We wanted to just jump into this customer perspective first. So I'm going to hand it off to Gahar after we take some questions. Then Gahar's going to hand it off to TJ to talk in really very granular detail to make sure you get the right resources and know what to do. So with that, I'll take questions, I'll repeat the questions, and then our panel will answer. So any questions for our panel about what they expect, what they want? Don't ask them about the forms. Don't ask about the forms. What do they expect? What do they want?
List of factors.
So is there a common way of thinking about return on investment, or are there other qualitative factors?
Yeah, so I think I'd answer your question in a couple of different ways. So there are some standard rules about how we want what's truly financially related information to be reported. And we do have a county policy about a discount rate. So there will be that kind of consistency imposed on the process. But as you noted, many of the other factors that we're thinking about are qualitative in nature. The improving the quality of services we provide, just being able to continue to provide services because technology is aging. So in many cases, there will not be a financial return on the investment. We fully understand that. And so where there is a financial return, we're going to want to analyze that with some systematic ways. But we also have to bring in these other factors that, frankly, the majority of IT projects are really being evaluated in that area, not on their finances.
Are there questions maybe from those who are on Skype on the call?
Oh. Well, Elizabeth says she cannot hear. And then you can type your questions here. So no, there are no questions so far, Gahar. So I'm going to give it maybe a few more seconds to see if we have any questions. Any out in the audience? Okay, how many of you are excited about IT improvement projects? Show of hands. Woo! Okay, Gahar, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, let's see. Here we go. There is a question. Are the proposals to be submitted once a year, every March, or are we going to do them on a rolling basis? Do you want to answer that?
So I guess, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, we haven't kind of totally figured it out, and we want to accommodate the needs.
Wow. Whoa. Subliminal message.
So we definitely want to accommodate the needs of the agencies timing-wise for their IT investments. So biennially, of course, we have this big process, and then definitely once a year, one of the like in the off year, we'll have the probably second omnibus where we would encourage agencies to kind of line up their proposals with. But then, of course, between omnibuses, there's always an option for a standalone supplemental if there's an urgent need. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that's good.
Okay.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay.
Well,
Thank you very much, panel members. Really appreciate it.
Are staying.